What I love about the Arthur Miller's intention behind the speech of Linda, attention must be paid. I kept thinking, it's like one of those lines like the handbag in The Importance of Being Earnest. You think, how am I supposed to say that line? It's always, you know, oh, I'm glad you're playing Linda Loman, attention must be paid in brackets. And I was going, help, you know, how do I say it? And then I suddenly realised that it's famous not because somebody said it in a particular way like Edith Evans. It's famous because it was, in 1948, incredibly unusual. It was Arthur Miller saying, attention must be paid to the little man. It's not got to be Coriolanus centre stage anymore, or Hamlet, or you know, the kings, the heroic decision makers. It's the little guy who, at that point in history, was, you know, emerging from the war, the American dream. That, well, the American dream was ages old by then, but the notion that, you know, it's all up for grabs. You can get it if you're worth anything. You'll be able to get rich, and you'll be able to pass it on to your children, and you'll have, you know, you'll have achieved a purpose in being on the planet. And if you don't do that, it's your fault. It's not the system, because America is the big country of opportunity, and anybody can get there. You know, so if you're sort of living under that cloud, if you like, the sort of juggling act between aspiration and really keeping on the front foot, bouncing back up again and hoping this could be my day, and the sort of trying to be a realistic, which his poor wife is trying to be, and pay the bills and say, and she has a lovely line, you know, why must everybody conquer the world? It's enough to be happy right here, right now. You're well loved, you know, and that's it. Why do you need more? And I think everyone in the audience has some relationship to that juggling match. It's very odd because you sort of, as a feminist playing those sort of parts, you think you almost don't want to show some, how can I put it? You sort of hope Arthur Miller was more on the feminist side than maybe he was, because maybe in his worldview there needed to be somebody whose total ambition and self-worth, if you like, even if she wasn't conscious of it, is tied up with being a good wife and good mother. You know, that's her boundary. And in a funny way, that simplifies life. And as an actor, I find some of my choices are very simple. They're heartbreaking. I've got to choose between my husband and my son in certain situations, but it's always about them. And there were some lines that I found hard to learn, and I realized it was because I had put I in them. Like, there was a line where I have to say, it's so hard for me to say a thing like this. And it isn't, it's so hard to say a thing like this. So it's never for me. You know, you're wrong if you're saying anything about I or me in that role. And that's not very realistic, but there are people like that. My mother, my mother-in-law, and hundreds and thousands and millions of people still, I'm sure. But it's not characteristic of me and my peer group. We sort of kicked that aside and said, we're going to complicate things by having our ego on the kitchen table as well. That's a different play. That's not what, that can't tell the story of Willy Loman in the way that Arthur Miller wants to tell it. So, but he gives her attention. You know, he gives her the last line. He cares about her, but he's basing it on the women he knows around him when he was a young man in Brooklyn. So, you know, what else can you do? Well, funnily enough, I thought it'd be very difficult going from playing the King of England to playing a housewife in Brooklyn. But actually, you know, you don't really get in any. There's no comparison really, and the character of Henry IV is not exactly terribly. He's not on top of his life. He's not triumphant. He's not actually winning the game. He's dying. He's more Willy Loman than Linda. He's trying to get his son to be the man he wants him to be. So if there's any parallel, it's between Willy Loman and Henry IV rather than Mrs. But there's a great liberation in playing the Shakespearean roles that weren't written for women, because you know, I can't think of many instances, if any, where the female roles in Shakespeare are not there principally to reflect the men or in relation to the men, and to play parts where your kind of preoccupation is how to run the country, how to win a war, how to defeat your enemy, how to, you know, or philosophical questions about, you know, man's position in the universe. Those don't get given to women in Shakespeare plays. So it's wonderfully liberating to do that. Then I'm not doing that as Mrs. Loman either. I'm back in the kitchen. But as I say, as long as the writer is giving you attention and a voice, it gives you a rich job to do. It's only if you're sort of really forced to the background that you're going, I want to play the leading role. But this is fine. This is great. I love playing her because it's a completely different journey than I've ever done.